People such as Daniel Cormier and others are confused as to why Adrian Yanez got a 10-8 round in round 3 in his fight against Ricky Simone, in which he lost the first 2 rounds by 10-9, and therefore created what was a majority draw. Well, what this does is it presses on a really big issue in MMA scoring. Because people, not so much in recent years, but like maybe a decade ago, were constantly pressed as to implementing a half point system. So not 10-9, 10-8, 10-7, etc., which never even happens. Why not? But anyway, but a half point system where you have 10-9, 10 and then 8.5, 10 and then 8, 10, maybe 9.5. I don't recall that. I'm not too familiar with the details of that system, but it doesn't help anything because it's all relative. And that's actually, in fact, how I think this would fix a lot of MMA scoring. What sense does it make to judge 10-9 and 10-8 on a comparatively absolute basis? If I just squeak out 10-9 and then another just squeak out 10-9 and then I get smashed in round 3 and then incur either a 10-9 or a 10-8, I still won that fight overall, right? That's how people, that's going to be what makes sense with most people. But it doesn't make sense on how it's scored, and it's not going to be reflective in the decision, and therefore the check and the momentum and the competitive rewards thereafter. So again, I think if we can try to create more momentum for this idea of judging it on a relative basis. Now, it already kind of is, and one objection someone might raise is that, oh, well, that just leads to too much subjectivity, right? But the reason why that doesn't work is that it's already subjective. Okay, so that's not an issue, unless you could draw out a more detailed way in which this is more vulnerable to the disadvantages of subjectivity, subjective judging, and whatever. But again, the idea is that if we score on a relative system that is within the fight, right, relative to what happens within the fight rather than fights across the sport, then I think this makes a lot more sense. Tell me what you think in the comments, or share this if you agree with me.